What's up, everybody? My name is Garrett, and welcome to The Cage. Let's go ahead and run down my top 10 games of 2016. Now, if you have your own top 10 list, leave it in the comments below. If you agree with any of my games, give a shout out because I'm interested to see what everybody else liked for 2016. And on that note, let's go ahead and get going. Number 10, The Division PS4. Surprisingly, I really enjoyed The Division. Some people maybe didn't care for it as much, but being that I'm not a huge multiplayer person or shooter person, this getting on my number 10 spot was very surprising. But when I started writing down the names, this one came up pretty quick. Becoming a Division agent or beacon activating and heading to New York during basically a terrorist attack on them during Black Friday, and smallpox breaks out, and we are sent in to help restore government, basically restore a state of normal. And the whole atmosphere of that was awesome. The city was beautifully done. They did such a great job on that. The characters themselves, while bosses were bullet sponges, you can't really expect much more than that, being that we're fighting humans and not aliens or robots. But the whole environment, how interactive it was, the storyline itself was very good. And being that I didn't even play the multiplayer part of it, I focused mainly on the story and doing it single player, made it feel like the weight of the world was on my shoulders the whole time. And I played through it from start to finish and thoroughly enjoyed it. And nowadays you can get it for under $20 at the time of this recording. I think it's definitely worth a playthrough, and I hope you guys pick it up. Number 9. Song of the Deep, PS4. We follow the story of a young girl named Mirage that goes out to the ocean to find her father, who is a fisherman. And in this Metroidvania-styled game, we follow this young girl who builds her own sub that goes out into the ocean and risks everything to find her father. Overall, beautiful graphics, an amazing title, and a narrator that could tell me anything in her voice, and I would believe it. Everything was spot on. Insomniac Games paired up with GameStop even to release this physically, and I'm glad they did. Everybody that gets a chance should play Song of the Deep because of it kept you going. It wasn't super long of a title, but it was just long enough for you to enjoy every moment of it. And it definitely deserves the number 9 spot on my list. Number 8. Watch Dogs 2, PS4. Being a big Watch Dogs fan, I was super excited to see they were coming back to the series. This time we follow the story of a guy named Marcus who is joining up with DedSec. And basically, shit hits the fan from that point on while they're trying to take down Bloom. The whole city is beautifully done, and the characters are all very memorable, and that was awesome. While the story itself had a few holes in it and didn't really jive up at the end, we got to meet some of our old characters like T-Bone and really just wreak havoc on the city while doing a full 180 from the original Watch Dogs being a more serious title. This one was so lighthearted, so funny, a lot of great smiling points and laughs. Definitely you should check out this title. I have no problems recommending it to everybody. Number 7, Dishonored 2, PS4. I was a huge Dishonored fan as well for this, and seeing that Dishonored 2 was coming up made me smile and super excited. We decided to play through as Emily in my videos, and being able to see from her perspective of the future and everything that went on in the time leading up and what it affected in the future was great. We got to revisit some old characters, see how they're doing 15 years later from the first part of the game, and overall shape our future as Empress and regain our throne that was taken away from us. The combat was solid, the graphics were great, the story was good. The bosses were probably the weakest point on this one, mainly because most of them were just in your way kind of situations. While they were still decent to fight, there wasn't much to them. And that'd probably be the only one downside I could say to this title. I definitely have no problems recommending this one, even if you never played the first one, just because of the sheer upgrade in graphics and storyline. and overall gameplay functions. It's a title that you should check out. Number 5, Overwatch. Now, personally, I'm not big on multiplayer games or shooters. However, I instantly fell in love with Overwatch when I tried out the beta. Every character is so unique and so crazy, and it's so much fun to play with a group, even by yourself with some other people from all over. This game did it for me. The graphics are beautiful, and the gameplay is simplistic, and it just works. And I love how every character doesn't really overlap with others. You have a lot of games that have a lot of characters in them, but normally a lot of those have a similar moveset or a similar design. These are all unique. Plus, the fact that all the characters are going to be included with on updates, you don't have to pay for those, seals the deal for me to keep this in my collection, pop it in for an hour or two now and again, play it out, and just get my Overwatch fix. And if you haven't yet, it's on everybody's to-get list. Go play it, try it out for yourself, and enjoy. Number 4, Firewatch PS4. I was a huge fan of this game before it even came out. I was sold on just seeing the graphics of it. And to finally sit down and play this on the PS4 was just mind-blowing. I picked it up day one and played through 99% of it day one because I could not stop. I wanted to know more of our main characters that had amazing voice actors. I wanted to see the landscapes. I wanted to live there because they made everything look just so beautiful. Yet they added this twist of paranoia and fear into you, but you had to keep going because you didn't have an option. And it just all blended together in such a way that I don't care what anybody says, you need to play this game. Even if it's just for the story. Borrow it from a friend. Go to a friend's house. It's not a super long game, but it's worth the $20 they're charging. I would pay double that for this game because it's that good. And guess what? You need to try it out as well. Number 3, Hitman PS4. When Hitman came out this year, I was interested because I never really played any of the Hitman prior. I played maybe an hour of Absolution, and that was about it. So I picked this up digitally on a whim and instantly fell in love. I know they got some criticism for their episodic updates and things like that, but that made me feel more involved because every place I went to felt better than the one before it. And the characters I was going after, the targets, were all living and breathing in this area. They would move. They would shift. Doing different things would cause your targets to move or change their pattern. And having the elusive targets to go after every now and again. Even Gary Busey was a target. Saying, you only have one shot at this. You better make it count. Was stressful but fun. And finally wrapping up the series how they did, I'm super excited to see what Season 2 brings for them, and I hope that them bringing the physical copy to the masses gets them even more praise because this game is great. Number 2, Dark Souls 3 PS4. Surprisingly enough, this did not take my number 1 spot. And if I could have made a tie, I would have. Dark Souls 3 gave me a bit of 1, Dark Souls 2, and a dash of Bloodborne. They mixed it all up, and out came this beautiful story of an Unkindled One out to link the fires, or in your playthrough, maybe something different. But it gave us a great story, beautiful graphics, amazing places to travel to, and these boss fights that are all rememberable. And something you can talk about the friends that have played it as well, and you can explain to them how much of a problem you had with whoever. There are so many different fights in this thing and so many paths that you could take. And each of them were great. All your NPC characters were spot on too, all with their kind of side story and their backstory and how everybody is connected. And means that we've gotten one DLC and soon a second one. I'm super excited to keep the story going and finally finish this up. And number 1, Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE Wii U. I was shocked I gave this my number 1 spot, but every time I write down the next title, this one would trump it. This gives us a beautifully done JRPG title that has amazing characters, beautiful voice acting, and ties in a solid series called Fire Emblem. You may have heard of it once or twice if you're a Nintendo fan. And the boss fights were great. The just normal fighting was an art. This gives us a story of these kids, basically teenagers, fighting to save their city and potentially the world, and tying them into the Fire Emblem series and these characters that some people may not have heard of was great, and giving us all these different move sets and side stories and just these cutscenes that were pulled out of an anime, basically. Beautifully done. The concert scenes with, you had these main characters singing songs because their front was working at a music studio, just blew me away, and every song is so catchy and so great. It was one of the longest series I've done in a long time, but every minute was fantastic. If you own a Wii U and you haven't tried this yet, give it a try. Especially if you like RPG games. It's super fun, super exciting, and it's one of these titles that I'm going to remember for quite some time. Well, there you have it, guys. That is my top 10 of 2016. Again, if you guys have your own top 10 list, leave them in the comments. If you agree with any of my games, leave a shout out, because I'm super excited to talk about this, and I want to get your guys' input in on some of your games of 2016. And I welcome you guys to 2017, and I hope that we have just as much fun as we did last year.